You are now listening to the Outsider Sports Show right here on The Hog, the most comprehensive and hard-hitting sports hour on radio today. And now, coming at you with their unabashed sports magnetism, here are your hosts, Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger.
And welcome everyone to the Outsider Sports Show. Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger. So happy to be joining you here on The Hog on a crisp, cool college football Saturday here. The weather's turning, the leaves are falling. Noah, it is time. The stretch run is here. Football is in full swing, and we got your back. Your money stays and plays with the Outsiders right here on the Outsider Sports Show on The Hog, man.
That's right, it does, and I am so looking forward to this Sunday, NFL Sunday. I don't have to watch the 29th ranked pass offense in the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, thank you.
Hey, the Chiefs are 9-0, absolutely stole one in Buffalo. We'll be talking in depth about this Kansas City Chiefs team as they hit the bye week and trying to get a little perspective about what this team can be and what they've done, and we'll be doing that in our final segment coming up. But guys, we're going to start today with this unbelievable story coming out from the Miami Dolphins, Richie Incognito, and this tale of bullying, which people, you hear that term, you want to laugh when it comes to adults, but this is pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, people have been talking about hazing all week and what that means, and this isn't even about hazing. This is about bullying, harassment. This could go criminal. I mean, this is just awful. If you haven't heard the voicemail, go listen to that. We're not going to repeat it here. It's even if we say bleep, there's just too many in there. It's too vile, too disgusting to read on air. So if you want to go check that out, just search Richie Incognito voicemail.
Said Richie Incognito is a racist. I think he's bigoted. I think he's a bully. I think it's all wrapped into one package. I don't want people to be under the perception that conduct in an NFL locker room is not somehow that we are not aware of what is societally okay and not okay. I've heard a lot of that today. Well, the locker room is a place where people are very different. They're not this different. I think that the Miami Dolphins will have to answer, at least some of them, what they knew and when they knew it. I know that the league will be concerned about getting to the truth, and then there's going to be liability, whether it is this kid coming back and playing, but if this kid were to decide that he wasn't going to come back and play, somebody will have to answer for that in terms of liability. This is off the charts.
It just speaks to Cameron Wake speaking. It speaks to a different generation of guys that are playing the National Football League now. I'm telling you, I played in 3 different decades, the 80s, the 90s, and 2000. I'm really disappointed in his teammates because I don't know how this guy can still be playing on a football team and they not find it out. I'm disappointed in the offensive players. I'm disappointed in Mike Pouncey, all right, whose guy is playing right next to you. If you don't know, like, this is criminal information. I mean, we're taking showers together, man. We're going on the road together. We're sleeping together. I'm depending on you, man, so I don't get my neck cracked. And they don't even know this. Tannehill, the quarterback, how can he not know? How can these guys not know? And Philbin as the head coach. The reason why coaches in this league are great is because they care about the players. The reason why the guy didn't talk to him when they met, because he didn't trust him. When a young kid can't go to a coach and tell him what's happening to him, that's how guys get weeded out in the football league. But you got to care about these guys. Bill Parcells, all right? Bill Belichick. They get the best out of the guys because they care about them. College football, Nick Saban, because they care about the guys. And it's a shame that nobody stand up for that kid.
And if you guys are unfamiliar with the story, backing up, this basically has to do with Jonathan Martin, an offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins. And he went AWOL from the team. He basically up and left and hasn't been seen as a result of some bullying that's been occurring from his teammates, specifically that of Richie Incognito, a fellow offensive lineman who is known around the league as just a loose cannon, a guy that has been using racial slurs, has been really just at this guy's throat for who knows how long.
Yeah, exactly. It probably started back when he was a rookie, started with hazing. I heard that Richie Incognito wanted Ryan Tannehill to buy the entire offensive line jet skis when he was drafted. That's going too far.
A $30,000 dinner tab at a restaurant. I mean, that's stuff that goes above and beyond. We talked to a lot of players, guys, and a lot of players we've spoken to about this have all said the same thing, which is, yeah, there's hazing. We make you go wash our car. We make you go pick up a tab at dinner that's a couple $100 or it's things like that. That's just normal. That's part of being a rookie. But this is something, and people handle things differently. People handle being talked to differently. Some people kind of like the attention of being talked to and messed with, and how players in a locker room can be. Some people internalize that and do not know where to go with it, and I think Jonathan Martin's one of those people.
Yes, exactly, and it's been talked about. Omar Kelly from Florida Sun-Sentinel said that the coaches told Richie Incognito, who they made part of this leadership committee. We'll talk about that decision in a little bit, making Richie Incognito a leader on your team. The man has had so many problems, but they told Richie Incognito to toughen Jonathan Martin up. He's not tough enough. He came from a lot of money, went to Stanford, well-educated man. He just wasn't tough enough, nasty enough, like a Richie Incognito on the offensive line. They wanted to toughen him up. I don't think they knew to what extent Richie Incognito was going to and the harassment that he was putting forth on Jonathan Martin. And then at the lunch table, Jonathan Martin comes, brings his lunch down, sits down at the lunch table. The entire offensive line, Richie Incognito, stand up and leave the lunch table. Jonathan Martin had it at that point. He figured everyone's siding with Richie Incognito on this. They know he's taking it too far. They're siding with him. I can't take it anymore. Football's not worth this. I'm done.
So this is obviously a team chemistry issue. This goes deeper than just Richie Incognito, because if this team, if these teammates are, on Richie Incognito's side and they're kind of, harassing and putting some of that stuff on Martin as well, then that goes on the whole organization, maybe even John Philbin, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it definitely goes on Philbin, Incognito. You heard Mike Wallace and Cameron Wake come out saying how they don't really know anything, but they're on Incognito's side. They think he's a great guy. They've never had problems with him. And you hear stuff coming out that they found Richie Incognito to be more black than Jonathan Martin because of where he came from and just how he carries himself. And Jonathan Martin was a well-educated man, went to Stanford, grew up from money, so he was less black than Richie Incognito, and how they've really embraced Richie Incognito as one of their brothers.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, Richie Incognito, of course, released by the Miami Dolphins. They have cut ties with him, maybe taking some positive steps to get this thing back on the right track. So we'll definitely follow that story, and just something we wanted to bring to light here this morning on The Hog. Getting in now to college football, because at the top of the hour, the Missouri Tigers will be on the road taking on the Kentucky Wildcats, another SEC game. Missouri 8-1, coming off a dominant victory over the Tennessee Volunteers. Any idea of a hangover coming from that South Carolina loss were put to bed easily. Matty Mock throws for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and rushes for 115 yards. Very good performance by Mock, and Missouri defense would absolutely shut down the Tennessee Volunteers. Good performance by Missouri. Missouri's back, obviously still in the driver's seat, and we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs looked lost, the Tennessee quarterback, against that Missouri defense. You got to give a lot of credit to the Missouri defense, but also Joshua Dobbs, young, inexperienced, and he just looked like a deer in headlights out there.
Guys, we're going to get ready after the break and to bring on Howard Richards, the color analyst for the Missouri Football Radio Network, and he's going to be talking to us about this game and what he thinks about the status of James Franklin. Quarterback James Franklin, of course, been sidelined with that shoulder injury. There was talk last week that he might be available. Matty Mock played a really good game, that he was not needed, but Franklin, I don't know. I still think that playing a team like Kentucky, maybe you can take your chances and keep Franklin off, out of the game. Let Mock win this game, which they should do easily, and then you have a bye week, and then 2 monster games, Ole Miss and A&M, to finish the year. Do you agree with that?
You got to worry about the rust issue. I mean, you don't want James Franklin going out there if he's not 100% and re-injure something, and then you're left without him against Ole Miss and Texas A&M. But there's also the factor of rust. You don't want him going out there trying to figure things out and get back in a rhythm 2-3 quarters, and once he gets in rhythm, you're too behind to come back. So,
do you like Missouri's chances to win out here? Because obviously you got to give Missouri this win against Kentucky. Then they're going to have Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Ole Miss on the road, Texas A&M at home. Likely going to need to at least win one of those games to get to the SEC championship. What happens from here?
I like them to obviously be Kentucky. Kentucky's just not in the same class right now. They're building with Stoops, but they're just not there. As far as Ole Miss, I think Missouri does take care of business. I think they go on the road and beat the Rebels. It's all going to come down to Johnny football.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully they don't need to win that game. My guess is they probably will need to win that game to clinch the SEC East and get into the title game against an Alabama or an Auburn.
If you're a Missouri fan, you want to be a Georgia fan these next few weeks. If the Georgia Bulldogs win out, then they will enter a three-way tie with Missouri and South Carolina. Should Missouri drop one of those final games, Missouri could then lose a game in there and still get to the SEC championship as long as one of their losses is to Ole Miss or A&M. We'll see how it plays out. But the rest of the SEC, as we go over, the big game of the week is going to be Alabama hosting the LSU Tigers. LSU has been inconsistent. They lost that game at Ole Miss, and I don't believe in them anymore, to be honest. I think Alabama wins this and wins it by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is all coming down to the big showdown, Auburn, Alabama, and that's going to be the winner of the SEC West.
I don't know if I'm sold on them either, to be honest. I think Alabama is going to take care of that, too. That's way down the road.
Yeah, I definitely think Alabama will take care of them, but that's going to be the one game that Auburn's going to be playing for everything. Alabama's going to be playing for everything. You might get a more inspired effort from Auburn, and maybe they can pull off a miracle and get the SEC West.
Well, we're getting ready to go to break here, guys. Howard Richards is going to join us as soon as we come back. But really quickly, speaking of Alabama, we've had reports. Nick Saban's agent comes out and says the only way he would leave Alabama is for Texas. Nick Saban denies. What happens?
Oh, man, it's looking a lot like when he was with the Miami Dolphins, denying reports about Alabama, denying. And then he winds up there, and now you've got him denying that the Texas reports. So it looks like he could be headed there, depending on what they do with Mac Brown. Mac Brown's still having a pretty decent season, so unless he slips up, they might just keep Mac Brown, and Nick Saban will have to stay at Alabama.
Guys, stay tuned after the break because the best is yet to come. We still have Howard Richards, the color analyst for the Missouri Tigers Football Radio Network, and later on, Buffalo Bills linebacker Arthur Moats joining us to talk about Chiefs Bills. Guys, you don't want to move. Join us here on The Hog as we come back after the break. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show here on KKES-FM The Hog, joined now by current color analyst for the Mizzou Football Radio Network, Howard Richards. Howard, welcome to the show. How's everything in your world, man?
Everything is just peachy in my world.
Absolutely. ours as well. Howard, now, of course, this is your third year now doing the color commentary with Mike Kelly, and can just speak for all Tiger fans, saying that you've just done a wonderful job. We enjoy your insight, and I'm sure it's been a great experience for you as well.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the fine comments. It's nice to know that people listen and appreciate what my perspective is on the game. And to answer your second question, I do. I really enjoy it. Being able to broadcast these games, for my alma mater, just means the world. I'm still so close to the program, so it's just a lot of fun. And I get to watch football free every week.
Absolutely, and the more fun it gets with as far as this season goes, 2013 has just been a wonderful season for the Missouri Tigers. Of course, sitting here at 8-1, going into this game at Kentucky before a bye week. How important is it for this team to stay focused? Because talking to a lot of SEC people, they always bring up can't overlook Kentucky. Can't overlook Kentucky. Look out! How focused do you think Gary Pinkel's going to have this team for Saturday?
I'm certain that he will have them extremely focused. Just as they came off the South Carolina game, very disappointing loss. Kids were crying, and it just hurt. It hurt for a good couple of days. But they rebounded well in their preparation for Tennessee. Came out, played a solid game, and what I believe is that they truly distaste what they felt. After losing to South Carolina. So, at any cost, they will do whatever it takes to avoid that kind of letdown and that kind of feeling when they go into Kentucky and going into Ole Miss as well. I mean, these are games, they know what to think. These are games that this team truly wants to win. When you're in the driver's seat, you want to stay in the driver's seat from start to finish. You don't want to be in a situation where you got to be on the outside looking in and hoping that some other team can beat someone else to help you out. Missouri's in the best possible situation right now, being able to control its own destiny. So a win at Kentucky would be great, and then you get to rest guys for a week. That would be the best possible scenario all the way around.
Well, I kind of want to tie my next question into that possible rest situation, which is going to come at the bye week. But right now, according to the depth chart, it looks like James Franklin is still listed behind Matty Mock. What are you hearing as far as Franklin's availability for this game and on into the future?
Well, what I believe is that Maddie will certainly start this game. James will probably get some, a few series in, just to get used to playing football again in real game situations. And then he'll continue to prepare throughout the bye week as though he were going to start against Ole Miss. I believe that, assuming he has no setbacks from the end of the game up until Ole Miss, that he'll be the starter going back into Ole Miss. And that's what Hinkle had alluded to, that once he was healthy, the position would be his again. And, with Moats, the way he's playing, the way he's had 2 solid games out of 3. So he's learning. I mean, his performance really took strides, positive strides last week against Tennessee. And a lot of things that, didn't go so well for him against South Carolina really went well for him against the Volunteers. So I expect them to, go out and be the starter against Kentucky. If you play well, continue to improve each week, and then we'll see for the Ole Miss game. But I think Franklin will likely be back at the start of Ole Miss. But I do believe that he'll probably get some reps during the game.
Of course, Missouri currently sits in the driver's seat in the SEC East by a game over South Carolina, a team that, of course, they lost to in heartbreaking fashion. With 3 games to go, Howard, how would you parlay the Tigers' chances as far as winning this division? I mean, obviously, you've got Kentucky this week, and then you get the rest, and you got Ole Miss and A&M, 2 monster games to end it. But if you had to go to Vegas this weekend and bet it, do you think Missouri's going to be able to hold on to this lead and get to Atlanta in the SEC championship game?
Well, I certainly believe so. Although every game's a tough game. I don't care if it's Kentucky or whoever that opponent may be. As Ole Miss beat LSU. So you don't look at Ole Miss and think of Ole Miss as a pushover. They did something well that game. They beat a very good LSU football team. They're very capable. And obviously, Texas A&M, from a schedule point, if you just look at it on paper, it looks to be the toughest opponent at the end of the schedule on November 30th. That said, the way that Missouri is playing overall, offensively, defensively, on special teams overall, they have as good a chance as any. The only team, they have 1 loss. A&M has 2 losses. I think Ole Miss has 3 or 4, I can't recall off the top of my head. And of course, Kentucky's only won 2 games so far. Favorably, I think Missouri looks to be in a good situation. The offense is starting to play even more with more consistency. They're getting a bunch of plays off. I think they're averaging about 75 offensive plays per game. The more plays you get off in the football game, the more chances you have to score. And that's what Missouri's doing. And the defense, of course, is really stepping up and putting pressure on teams in the passing game, and also stopping the run. So, right now it looks like Missouri's in a good position to do very well. But it's going to take a continued, consistent effort each game they line up for.
Howard, I want to talk to you about this defense, a defense that in my mind has overachieved this season, has really played great football, especially rushing the passer. Of course, this year the loss of Sheldon Richardson was going to be a big loss for this team, but there's been guys that have stepped up on that defensive line: Matt Hoke, Lucas Vincent, Marvin Foster before he was hurt, of course, but Michael Sam, Coney Ely, and Marcus Golden playing so well at defensive end. Talk about this defense and what you see out of them, and how do you believe that they've been able to be so successful this year, even losing a guy like Sheldon Richardson?
And don't forget about Shane Ray. Don't forget about not Coney Ely, Harold Brantley,
Sure.
and don't forget about Marcus Golden. Sorry, just got distracted. Those guys are all stepping up and playing as well as the starters are in their own way. They're all making tremendous contributions. The defense, and just as you mentioned, I think everyone thought that would be an area, especially the defensive line, that would struggle. Because if you listen to all the talk, in order to be successful defensively in the SEC, and I still believe this, you got to have a big, athletic, aggressive schedule this year for the Tigers. You know, playing Vanderbilt, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee through 5 games so far. That Missouri defensive line has been an asset and been far from a liability.
Absolutely, and a player I want to ask you about specifically at the linebacker position, a guy I know you know very well, know you know his father very well, and that's Andrew Wilson, a guy who has been as solid a player as I can remember here at Missouri, a guy that's maybe unheralded because he doesn't make a lot of big flashy plays, but all he does is lay the hammer down on people, make big hits, and do the right thing, play assignment-based football. He's going to be the leading tackler again for the 3rd straight year. Talk about Andrew Wilson and what he means to this program.
Well, he leads by example. He leads not by his mouth. He leads by his play. And he's not a very vocal guy. He will tell you that. It's pretty well documented. But there's a reason that he's won the team's Hammer Award like 2 of the last 3 years because he is a hitter. He's a hitting machine. He lays the wood to guys. But, you know, he plays solid defense. I mean, being a leader on the defense, he knows what to look for, and he makes big plays on defense. But, you know, like his father, actually, I think Andrew is a better athlete than Jay. Sorry, Jay. You're listening.
We won't tell him that.
I think Jay will say the same thing, too. But he's a very good kid. Very respectful. You know, he's goal-oriented. He's very focused. And I just like the way he plays. He's a good ambassador for the University of Missouri program. And he's set such a good example for anyone that wants to come in and play linebacker for the University of Missouri.
I'll tell you what, Howard, big game on Saturday. Hope you have a wonderful call. Going to definitely be listening. And just can't thank you enough for joining us, talking some Missouri football with us. And again, just got to tell you, we enjoy your color analyst so much. You're just such a great guy, such a great perspective. We really appreciate you joining us today, Howard.
I appreciate it, Clint. Thanks for having me, and I'll come on anytime you guys want.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, you keep Mike Kelly and Chris Trevino in line for us here, especially on the road. You never know what to expect from those two.
It's a tall order, but you know I do my best.
All right, Howard, you take care, and we'll definitely catch you up soon, my man.
Okay, great.
Thanks a lot.
Care.
And thanks a lot to Howard Richards for joining us, talking Mizzou and Kentucky, a game that a lot of people use that term trap game for Missouri. I don't really see it. I think Missouri's going to be a very focused team, as Howard was talking about, and going to go in there and get a win.
Yeah, I agree. But even if it is a trap game, I think Kentucky's just that bad that Missouri can overlook them and still get the W. So look ahead to Ole Miss and Texas A&M and get your W against Kentucky.
As fans, you can look ahead. You guys don't have to prepare. You don't have to watch film. You can look ahead in your mind and go ahead and think about those 2 games after the bye week.
But we do anyway. We watch the film. We prepare anyway during the week.
Absolutely.
We got our push-ups, sit-ups in. We're ready.
We are ready. And I'll tell you what, Missouri is a team. Kentucky does not have a win over a BCS opponent this year. They have just not been very good. This is I think that Coach Stoops down there is doing some nice things. He's getting a nice recruiting class put together. And I think Kentucky's going to be mildly competitive for the foreseeable future, but not right now, not today.
Yeah, it's all about Ole Miss and Texas A&M. This Kentucky team is way overmatched, and it could be really ugly for them if Missouri comes in focused.
Well, Missouri, here's a team that's won on the road at Vanderbilt, already won on the road at Georgia, won on the road at Indiana, already has some big road wins under the belt, and I don't think that that's going to be an issue unless they're going to have to go over and play basketball against John Calipari's Wildcats. Then we may have a problem. But
yes, you will definitely have a huge problem on your hands if you go and play basketball. Luckily, they're going to play football this Saturday.
I don't know. Hopefully their fans are prepared for a football game. I know they've probably moved on to basketball, but going to be interesting to see how Missouri keeps that focus and hopefully keeps the pedal to the metal as far as that goes. And it will be interesting to see what happens with this quarterback situation. Like we talked to Howard Richards, he said, he thinks Matty Mock's going to start, but you'll see Franklin sort of integrated into the offense. I don't know if I agree with that. I think you're going to see Matty Mock playing until it's either a blowout or it's too close. It's going to have to be some extenuating circumstance to get Franklin into this game. I think they really want to rest this kid, give him the bye week and make sure he's healthy for Ole Miss, because those are the two games that are really going to decide the season.
I actually disagree with you. I agree with Howard. I think he is going to be integrated. I think they need to knock the rust off a little bit and get him ready for the Ole Miss and Texas A&M games. You don't want to sit him, and if it's not a blowout, you can't get him in. And then he's got all that rust to work off at the beginning of the Ole Miss game, and then you're down by too much, and it's over.
You never disagree with me. What about today has caused this? We got Missouri and Kentucky coming up here at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock on ESPNU, and you're arguing with me for the first time since the football season has started. Noah, I just don't know what I've done to possibly have caused this. I'm being bullied right now, by the way. You guys can't see this. I've thrown my tray down. I'm done.
Yes, I am the Richie Incognito of the Outsider Sports Show.
I knew it.
And I think it's because my fantasy football league that I'm in has gone awry. There's been some horrible trades made.
Yours too?
Yes.
I think everybody's has by now, unless you're a league's commissioner, for instance. Those people tend to stay in it longer, I've noticed.
Yeah, they got Peyton Manning on their side now after making a horrible trade, so I'm taking it out on you. I apologize.
That's okay. And we can agree to disagree on this one small topic because we agree on so many things, including, but not limited to, the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of the NFL, a lot of these topics that we bring to you on a weekly basis. So I'll tell you guys what, when we come back after the break, Bills linebacker Arthur Moats is going to be joining us talking about Chiefs and Bills, talking about the Buffalo Bills and what they are going to be looking like in the foreseeable future. So be sure to join us as we come back right here on The Hog. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show right here on KKES-FM The Hog, joined currently by Buffalo Bill linebacker Arthur Moats. Arthur, welcome to the show. How's everything in your world, my man?
Oh, man, everything is going good, man. Appreciate you for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. We love having you on. We appreciate it every time. And I'll tell you what, our paths crossed a week ago as of course, the Kansas City Chiefs rolled down to Buffalo. And I'll tell you what, though, Arthur, you talk about a team that played very well, definitely well enough to win. That was the Buffalo Bills last Sunday. Didn't quite get the win over the Kansas City Chiefs here, but you guys got to, take some positives out of that game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was plenty of things that, we were, happy about as far as, defensively, how our performance was. And then offensively as well. I mean, we were moving the ball really good. But, at the same time, we have to focus in on, some of the little things that ultimately ended up costing us the game. And it's one of those things that it's a hard learning experience, but ultimately you have to be a pro and just learn from it and not make the same mistakes the next week.
Going back to the preparation for this game, as a defensive unit in the meeting rooms, what did you see from the Chiefs' offense, and how did you stop them so efficiently?
Well, we saw that they definitely wanted to run the ball. If you saw with Jamal Charles, I mean, every game going into this season, going up until the game that we just played against them, they had over, 100 yards rushing and everything like that. And he's, one of the dominant backs in this league. And then Alex Smith had been doing a great job of just not turning the ball over, making the throws that he's supposed to make and things like that. So we knew going in that we were definitely going to have to stop the run and try to make them one-dimensional. And I felt like we definitely were able to accomplish that. And it just, our defense as a whole, I feel like we definitely turned it up and played at a higher level because we knew, with some of the injuries that we had on the other side of the ball, that a lot more slack would be put on us,
You guys played very well. I'll tell you what, did you feel at any point, especially in the first half, like the Kansas City Chiefs offense was reeling a bit? I mean, you had Kyle Williams getting constant pressure. You had yourself. You had a lot of the linebackers flying around making plays. You had Alex Smith looking a little shaky. You had receivers dropping passes. You had the Chiefs offensive line committing penalties. You had to feel like that you as a unit had the Chiefs off balance a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely did. And, we were ready to put, so to speak, just to finish them off and everything like that. But I feel like the turning point of the game was, of course, when Sean Smith made the play in the end zone and, he was the 100-yard interception. I felt like the momentum started to shift in. But even defensively, I mean, I know our whole mindset throughout the whole game was they're not going to get anything, Even if they get the ball in the red zone, we're still going to make them have to kick a field goal, And I felt like that was the biggest thing. And it definitely showed up out there.
Going back to that Sean Smith interception, he blew his coverage on Stevie Johnson. He was wide open in the end zone, and Toole thought Sean Smith was going to cover Stevie Johnson like he should have, and the slant would be wide open, but it wasn't, and Sean Smith took it back to the house. What do you think of Stevie Johnson calling that a lucky interception?
Well, I mean, Stevie, I feel like he definitely hit it on the head because if you look at the film on the play, I mean, Stevie beat the guy really good. It was nice and clean, but it's one of those things that you have to learn from as far as, tool goes. But, I mean, definitely took the hat to Deshaun. He caught the pass and he definitely made the big play as far as returning it. So, I mean, he definitely, I wouldn't say it's crazy lucky, but, I mean, he definitely did what he was supposed to do. He made a play that was, there to be made.
Well, I'll tell you what, Arthur, a lot of people are talking about this Buffalo Bills team as a team that is absolutely much better, a much better football team, much better offense, much better defense, and you guys are really coming around. You guys got Pittsburgh coming up here this Sunday. Talk about this game and how big it is. I mean, you got Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers are struggling. Is this a chance for you guys to get back on track and get back into this playoff hunt? Because here in the AFC, the wild card playoff chase is wide open.
Absolutely. I mean, we're to the point in the season where now we have to start winning these games. It's no more, we can come out close and possibly not win and we'll be all right. It's down to the nitty-gritty, And the Pittsburgh team, I mean, they definitely have been struggling lately, but we're not taking anybody lightly. We feel like we're going to get their best shot because at the same time, they just come off of a defeat to the Patriots. They're going to want to get back on track as well. So we're definitely going to have to come out there and have our A game on, all three phases of the game and everything like that. But ultimately, I feel like we'll be all right.
It sounds like E.J. Manuel's going to be good to go this Sunday. What do you think he brings to your offense from the first weeks before he got injured?
Well, I feel like he just brings that leadership out there. I mean, even though he's a rookie, if you just see his demeanor and, the confidence that he has in them, the confidence that the guys around him, start to play with when he's out there. I mean, I feel like it's definitely going to, help on that aspect of it. And he's a guy who can make all the throws and then at the same time still beat you with his legs, even though, hopefully he doesn't have to do that this week. He can just sit back in the pocket and be nice and clean.
Absolutely. And obviously, I mean, quarterback is such an important position, and you guys, you've signed Matt Flynn, you've had Jeff Toole having to play some games, you've had Thad Lewis play. I mean, obviously, whenever there's a change at that position, it's really hard to gain momentum as a team. I mean, is that kind of how you guys feel, even as a defensive unit?
Well, for us, defensively, we just kind of look at it like this. Whoever they put out there quarterback, just, hey, as long as they're not turning the ball over too much, we'll be fine. We feel like our job is to go out there and stop whoever, gets the ball in whatever field position they have it in. And I feel like ultimately we've been doing that, we haven't been doing it up to our standard per se, but we definitely have been improving, every game. And I feel like ultimately, defensively, with EJ back out there, it's still going to help us out because we know now that, hey, we're going to have more sustained drives out there, with EJ being out there. We're going to, have a lot more productivity on offense. But ultimately, still, our goal on defense is to shut things out. That's what we want to do.
Going back to this Chiefs game last week, it looked like your defense really played it better than anyone has so far this season as far as covering the underneath route, stopping Jamal Charles, and making Alex Smith go deep, which he can't do.
Yeah, well, I felt like, with Coach Patton, he definitely had a great, game plan as far as, what we wanted to take away from the Chiefs offense and the certain things that we want to, make them have to do, like you said, as far as making Alex Smith have to beat us over the top and things like that. And we knew that, they wanted to feed Jamal Charles because he's been having a great year. But I felt like ultimately, the way our defense played, with the D-line, they were really aggressive. I mean, you spoke on Cal, Marcelo as well. I mean, they were getting, great penetration and things like that. And then just the back end as far as the coverage and stuff went, I mean, we really took away a lot of the things that they wanted to do.
Okay, Arthur, during the broadcast last Sunday, one of the announcers said something about it being unseasonably cold, 36 degrees in Buffalo. Okay, it's November, and I don't necessarily agree that it's unseasonably cold, but do you have to mentally and physically prepared for what's to come the last half of the season there in Buffalo? Because it's just a different kind of freezing cold temperatures. I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, it definitely gets, way more cold than the little 30, whatever it was on Sunday or whatever. But, the biggest thing is the wind. I feel like, the wind, it just cuts through everything that you have wanted. That's the part that really gets a lot of people. But I feel like with us being up here, living in it, having to practice in it every day, you become mentally, tough and mentally used to it. So that way when you're out there on Sunday, it's not a shock compared to, some of the teams who aren't used to, being in this type of weather per se. When they come up here, it definitely gets them. It catches them off balance.
How do you feel about your role on this defense? Sunday you had one tackle. Do you feel like you're being underutilized and you could play more?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, with this game and everything like that, I was in a lot more man coverage, so I didn't have those opportunities. But ultimately, I feel like, the way I'm being used is definitely helping me out a lot. I mean, my stats as far as, compared to years past, I'm getting way more production than I ever have. So I feel like I'm definitely, enjoying my situation right now.
Well, Arthur, I'll tell you what, you're one of the nice guys out there. We cannot thank you enough for coming on and talking to us. And, hearing all these stories, especially from, what's going on in Miami and horrible situations like that. It's just good to know that there's nice guys like yourself out there in the NFL. And, you make a great name for yourself, and we really appreciate you coming on. We're definitely cheering for you the rest of the way. So keep up the good work, and we hope we can catch up with you soon, my man, hopefully in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate you.
All right, Arthur, take care, man. Good luck on Sunday.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Arthur. There's no doubt the Buffalo's defense did their job in that game, and the Chiefs absolutely stole one down there in Buffalo. And I know it's hard for Arthur, to talk about. What a great guy. Just so glad to have had him on. We've had him on before. Great to hear from Arthur Moats, and continued success to that Bills team.
Yes, a current player in the National Football League coming on our show. We've been stonewalled before, but Arthur graciously comes on, gives us the insight on the Buffalo Bills. His defense definitely did their job, like you mentioned, to shut down this Kansas City Chiefs offense. If not for Jeff Toole and those turnovers, maybe things could have been different.
And we talked to Arthur about the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh is a team absolutely reeling. They got it. They just got it handed to them by the New England Patriots. Have the Patriots, has Tom Brady, has he found his mojo? Are they ready to roll and do what the Patriots always do? The numbers have been disappointing up till now, but don't look now. They're 7-2 and look to be a real force here in the AFC.
Yeah, Tom Brady's hand was swollen. It's gotten a little better. They looked really good against a suspect Steelers defense. It's weird to say because usually they're top of the NFL. But the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger had 400 yards passing, so they got a lot done through the air, but couldn't get the running game going, couldn't stop Tom Brady at all. And the Bills look to go into Pittsburgh, into Heinz Field, and steal a game there with E.J. Manuel coming back from injury.
I like E.J. Manuel. I like this Bills team. I think that if Manuel can add a dimension to that offense and get this team out of neutral, because they're a team that just looks to me like they're kind of stuck in neutral. They're 3-5. They're not a bad football team, but they need to get better, and they will get better. And that's going to be a team to watch in the AFC East here, maybe in a year or two down the road. Probably not this year. The playoff picture is going to start becoming more apparent as the weeks go on. The wild card picture in the AFC, I tell you what, it's going to be kind of foggy up until the very end because there's a lot of teams playing some so-so football. Not many elite teams in the NFL this year.
No, especially that last playoff spot. It looks like the Jets, the Chargers, the Dolphins are fighting for it. What's happened with the Dolphins recently, you'd expect them to fall off, but who knows? We'll see Monday night when they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 0-8, so that should be a victory.
Yeah, and you've got two 0-8 teams, Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. And there's people out there saying, hey, these two teams can both go 0-16. I don't buy it. I think Jacksonville might, but I think Tampa Bay's going to beat somebody.
Yeah, Tampa Bay up 21-0 on the Seattle Seahawks. They blow the game at the end. Seattle comes back, makes a miraculous comeback, and wins the game. But Tampa Bay's got some talent there, even though there's some turmoil inside the locker room and the players not really on board with Greg Schiano. There's too much talent there to go 0-16. They'll beat somebody down the line.
Here's a division that I really can't get a grasp on right now, and that's the AFC North. Okay, you've got Cleveland, who looks like an up-and-coming team, just still with quarterback issues, a defense that's really opportunistic and really physical up front. The Ravens, who look like an absolute Super Bowl hangover football team right now. The Steelers are a mess. And Cincinnati, who is the class of this division, yet they lose that game last Thursday to the Miami Dolphins on Halloween. And what are they doing?
I have no idea. You've got the Cincinnati Bengals. They've got injuries with their cornerback, Leon Hall, star cornerback in that game on Halloween. They had Geno Atkins injured, probably the best defensive tackle in the National Football League. As far as the Browns and the Ravens beat the Ravens, and both of those teams aren't going to go anywhere because they can't run the ball. And we're coming down to November, December here where you have to run the football. In that game, Ray Rice had 17 rushing yards. Willis McGahee for the Browns had 31 rushing yards. That's just not going to get it done. I don't care who your quarterback is. Jason Campbell's playing good football. Joe Flacco's got the $100 million contract. Supposed to be playing good football, but if you don't have a running game that you can rely on, it really hinders your passing game.
What about as we go to the AFC South a little bit, the Indianapolis Colts, obviously the best team coming out of the AFC South. Where is this football team at? Because we saw they lost Reggie Wayne, but T.Y. Hilton with a monster game last Sunday against the Houston Texans and a come-from-behind victory. Andrew Luck didn't panic. They were down big early, came back in there, got a win. But is this Colts team still in that upper echelon in the AFC? It's got to be.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're at the upper echelon, if that makes any sense to you. But Reggie Wayne being gone really hurts them. Darius Hayward-Bay gives them nothing. Outside of that, they don't really have a passing option. They've got Kobe Fleener, who's nice. He'll give you 40, 50 yards. T.Y. Hilton, 7 catches, 121 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Can't say enough about that guy. Just the amazing game. You thought Andre Johnson was going to run away with the player of the game. Here comes T.Y. Hilton. They win the game. Player of the game, T.Y.
If we go to the NFC side, I mean, obviously right now, what sticks out to me are San Francisco, Seattle. Despite Seattle having to really stave off poor performances 2 straight weeks, they got wins. They're 8-1. San Francisco has strung off several wins in a row. They're going to get Aldon Smith back. Aside from that, this is a weird conference as well, because we saw the Atlanta Falcons, a team we thought was going to be an elite team, or they're 2-6, they're a disaster, they're done. And then the NFC North, we have teams. It's a mess with Detroit and with Green Bay and with Chicago. Where does this thing wind up?
I mean, you've got Seattle. They're dealing with injuries to Sidney Rice. They're trying to get Percy Harvin back. The passing game, I thought Russell Wilson would be a little better this year. The passing game's really struggled. They've got both left tackle and right tackle are injured. They're waiting for those guys to come back. You saw that be a real hindrance to them in that St. Louis Rams game where Chris Long and Robert Quinn, defensive ends for the St. Louis Rams, both had 3 sacks in that game. The 49ers, I think they're going to be a strong football team down the stretch. I look for them to push Seattle right to the edge for that division title. The New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, what can you say? That guy coming back means everything. I didn't think it was going to. I didn't think they were going to even make the playoffs, and wow, was I wrong on that one. Sean Payton means the world. They are clicking on all cylinders. They did lose to the Jets, but you get them in friendly confines of that Superdome, and they're tough out.
How about these Carolina Panthers, Noah? Carolina, Cam Newton, a team that was just lost a year ago, and Cam Newton's second year, things are starting to click.
I picked them as my surprise team. I really like what they have on defense. They did get rid of John Beeson to the New York Giants, but I like Luke Kuechly. I like Starlock Tulele coming over from Utah. And I just really like what Cam Newton's doing. He's got Brandon LaFell. Ted Ginn really adds a different aspect to that offense with the deep routes. Steve Smith is always reliable. And you've got the running game coming alive now. D'Angelo Williams seems to have found his second life in the NFL. And Jonathan Stewart's coming back, and you've got the pounder and Mike Tolbert always for the goal line.
Well, it's been great going around the NFL as the Chiefs are on a bye week. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Chiefs going forward and what they've done in the first 9 weeks. Talk about that 9-0 start and maybe give some of our concerns, questions, comments, all coming up on The Hog when we come back right here on the Outsider Sports Show. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show. Clint, Switzer, Noah Groniger, still with you on a beautiful, cold college football Saturday here in Missouri. Of course, in Kentucky here at the top of the hour on ESPNU. But we were talking NFL. We were talking Kansas City Chiefs. We were talking about this 9-0 start. Noah, is it for real? Or is this smoke and mirrors? Or is it something in between?
I think it's a little bit in between. I'd go a little bit more towards it's kind of real because of the defense, how strong they're playing. Andy Reid, solid coaching staff, especially with Bob Sutton there on the defensive side. It always comes back to one player, Alex Smith. Yes, the offensive line isn't playing well, but you've got to have that quarterback, and we don't have it.
I think you're right. I think that as you look at this 9-week, and we have 9 weeks to look back at and to analyze and to look at stats and to try to figure out what are this team's strengths, what are their weaknesses. Right now they sit at the 25th ranked offense in the league and the 8th ranked defense. Of course, this defense has been extremely opportunistic, has won this team just about every game except for maybe the first game against Jacksonville, which was 28-2 in a slaughterhouse, and Jacksonville's horrible. But when you look around this league, so many teams struggling, so many teams can't find a quarterback situation that fits. The Chiefs have been the benefactor of that because the Chiefs do not have that problem. They have gone out, not turned the ball over. They've turned teams over, the best turnover margin in the NFL. They have taken what is out there, which is they have become one of the elite teams in the AFC by simply not being horrible.
Yes, exactly. Playing it safe, playing it close to the vest, run the ball, defense, field position, all that classic cliche stuff you want to hear. The Kansas City Chiefs are the model for that right now. Coming up after this bye week, we've got the Denver Broncos. I know the Chiefs players don't want to hear that.
No.
They're on sandy
Nope.
beaches. They're on ESPN, NFL Network.
Plenty
They're
of
hanging
time
out.
for that next week. We will be certainly analyzing that game next week. But, yeah, they are away from football this week, and they're going to be in for a big-time football game, Sunday Night Football on NBC coming up next Sunday. That's going to be a huge one. A lot of Chiefs fans looking to that. I'll tell you what, I'm dreading the game because it's almost as if I really don't want to see what's about to unfold, because my worst fear is that this is going to be a bloodletting, that Denver is going to win this game 38-10, and that it will never be close. And then you've really got to look at your team and say, what are we?
Yeah, and especially the last 2 weeks against Cleveland and Buffalo, against Jason Campbell, Jeff Toole, our defense, we couldn't get after the quarterback in the pass rushing game. If you listen to us, even Kevin Keatsman on 810, we're scared of this defense and what it's starting to show, that it's starting to show signs of slowing down and getting a little worse. But if you listen to Bill Moss, who's always a good person to listen to, he thinks that this defense is kind of playing a little vanilla and playing some games with Peyton Manning, looking ahead, saying, hey, we're not going to show you everything. We're going to really bring it when we see you Sunday night.
I don't buy that for a second. When you're 9 games into an NFL season, if you're vanilla, then you're gone. What's there to be vanilla about 9 games into a football season? Saving your best for one team? Not in this league. Your best better start week 1 against Jacksonville, and it did. And that's got to progress through the season. You cannot be vanilla 9 weeks leading up to 1 or 2 games. You just can't.
I tend to agree with you, but I mean, Bill Moss, the great Bill Moss, former Chiefs player, defensive tackle.
Former guest of ours,
never again, but it's great to hear his perspective and how this defense is kind of, you wonder how Holly and Houston could not get to the quarterback these last 2 weeks when they were getting to him almost every single play, whether it be a sack or a hit or a hurry or knockdown or something. So you kind of believe in Bill Moss, but then you're saying, how can you really go vanilla in an NFL game and take your chances doing that?
Well, and I think a lot of this is, okay, the Chiefs' pass rush was just absolutely insane through the first 5-6 weeks. A lot of teams looked at it and go, look, especially teams with losing records, with backup quarterbacks like the Chiefs have faced, when they're game planning through the week, it's like, look, we could stand back there and let our quarterback just get murdered doing 5 and 7-step drops, or we can devise play, quick hitters, screens, have the quarterback get rid of the ball.
Have the running back chip.
Absolutely.
Keep the tight end backs
Which is what we've seen. I think they kind of have adjusted to that a little bit. So it's going to be up to Bob Sutton and, this Chiefs defense to devise ways to get to this quarterback again. Well, I thought Bob Sutton, another thing that we haven't seen as much the last couple of weeks, is he was just a genius at devising blitzes, disguising blitzes and sending corners and safeties when, maybe it wasn't necessary at that time, but he was doing it. And guys like Marcus Cooper, you saw Flowers get sacks, Eric Berry's, and I think that may be something that does need to happen, especially some exotic blitzes coming up against a team like Denver. That's just, if you think you're going to have all day to tee off on Peyton Manning, no.
And especially with Peyton Manning, you can't show the blitz. He's going to call out to audibles. He's going to have guys going in motion, trying to get you to show your hand before the snap so he can change and see what's going to happen. So you really have to disguise it well and come at the very split second that he snaps that ball, and he doesn't see it coming, and you blindside him.
Okay, the Chiefs are 9-0 right now, and when you look at a football team that's 9-0, that's won some of these games like the Chiefs have, you have to look at it in terms of a Super Bowl. If you start 9-0, you should be able to look at your team and say, this team can win a Super Bowl. Can Chiefs fans realistically do that right now?
I don't think so. I think you're going to have to wait till you play these high-caliber teams. Even a San Diego team will give you a better test than what you've seen so far. The Denver Broncos, we got to play the Indianapolis Colts. These will be good tests to measure where we really are right now. As far as defensively, and can Alex Smith get the ball going? I don't think he can. I don't think we can score enough to keep up with teams like these. We might be able to beat the Chargers. Broncos and Colts, that's a different story.
Well, and, that's a good point. And it's unbelievable that at 9-0, you have to look at it and say, wow, we're 1 game ahead of the second-place team. Usually if you start 9-0, you're about 4 or 5 games ahead of the second-place team in your division, and you're going to win the division easily. But for Kansas City, this team, I think, is going to have to win its division and get home field to really have a chance at a playoff win.
Yeah, home field is crucial for this team. The crowd is back. They're going crazy. It's great in Arrowhead. We really need that going on the road. I just think with our offensive line, I think Eric Fisher would have some penalties, Asamoah, Allen, Hudson, some false starts with the crowd noise. We really need that home crowd behind our defense, getting them pumped up, psyched up to go even further than they would normally.
Well, and a lot of people have talked about this schedule the Chiefs have played, and let's just face it, a lot of the NFL is just flat out bad this year, be it coaching problems or quarterback problems or injuries or what have you. The Chiefs have just emerged as a team that doesn't have any of those problems, so they're very good. Now, as the schedule turns a little bit, I still think that this Chiefs team is good, but I think that there's about 3 losses out there for this team, and if you're 13-3, which is a great record, I don't think that's going to win this division.
Especially in the past, this could be a curse. Our 13-3 record, going back to the Marty Schottenheimer days, we're 13-3. We never get there. We always have, whether it's a field goal kicker or missed balls on offense, Elvis Gerbach debacles. I mean, you've got, you name it.
And that's the thing is, one thing to point out about this offense, and you kind of brought that up, is that we have not seen this offense with their feet to the fire, meaning this team has not been behind by 10 points in a fourth quarter, and you have to go score on this possession or you have lost. This has not happened through 9 games. So we don't know how this team will react when faced with that situation. I think I know. I'll be honest. I don't think that this is an offense you want with, I don't think you want Alex Smith with the ball in his hands, down 7 at Denver on a snowy night in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to bode well.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Alex Smith is a very limited quarterback, and they're just going to play those underneath routes. They're going to watch Jamal Charles, just like the Buffalo Bills did last week. At some point, you're going to have to be able to stretch the field to make a defense worry about that and back up, and then you can get some more open routes where Alex likes, intermediate, short, and get Jamal Charles going some more.
Noah, there seem to be 2 camps of Chiefs fans out there that we talk to on a daily basis, and there's the camp of, Alex Smith is the best. He's 9-0. Get off his back. And then there's the camp that we happen to fall in, which is, oh my gosh, this is a very good football team, but this quarterback cannot win me a Super Bowl. That's sort of where we're at. Kind of maybe go through both sides of the coin here and which side is right.
Yeah, starting with our side of the coin, I know that I look at Alex Smith and say, man, I didn't expect us to be 9-0. I picked maybe an 8-8, 7-9 record going into this year, but now that we are 9-0, it's got me thinking, man, this is a great opportunity for us to go forward. You don't get this every year and win a Super Bowl, but Alex Smith just can't do it for me. If he does, it'll be a miracle. I'll eat crow. I'll do whatever you want.
A live crow, by the way.
Yes, a live crow, and I will videotape it. It'll be on YouTube for all of you to see in its glory. But Alex Smith, I just don't think he can do it. You got to score points in this league. I don't think our defense will be able to shut down Peyton Manning to 10, 17 points. If they do, great. I'm all for that. I hope they do, but I just don't see it. And the other side of the coin, the fans saying Alex Smith's the best. All he does is win, 26-4-1 over his last 31 games. I mean, that's great and all, but he's been carried by a great 49ers defense, a great Chiefs defense. You have Jamal Charles with Kansas City. You had Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, the best offensive line in football with the 49ers. Great coaching staffs with Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid. Alex Smith has been carried the last 3 years, drugged through the mud and carried for all these wins. He has not got you one of those wins.
Well, let's talk about this because prior to 2011, which is the year that the 49ers really should have been in the Super Bowl, they lost to the Giants in the NFC Championship game, and Alex Smith had a good playoffs, had a good season. Prior to that, this is a guy that I'm surprised even made it to 2011 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It was close. They were close. How many times to cutting ties? He wasn't finishing seasons due to injury. His record was absolutely porous. The team wasn't good. And then all of a sudden in 2011, Harbaugh comes aboard. The team, with Singletary's bunch that were left over, Harbaugh coaches them up. They become a very good team. Alex Smith has a good season finally, isn't hurt. 2012 gets hurt again, gets replaced. We know the story from there. But I think you make interesting, very valid points as to this. And I agree with you in that, like I brought up earlier, when you're 9-0, you have to look at your team in comparison to, can this be a Super Bowl team? And the Chiefs defense is ranked 8th right now. It's been very good. It's been opportunistic. It has to be first to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
We are first in points allowed, only allowing 12 points a game, but in total yardage, total defense, we are 8th right now.
Giving up a lot of yards. I think that a game like the Buffalo game with giving up 250 yards rushing is going to do that. And
over 400 yards total.
Absolutely. And a lot of these games, the Chiefs have been ahead, and the team has been making mistakes by trying to come back and throw the football, and the Chiefs have been opportunistic, getting turnovers every single game. Can you count on that? through 16 games and a couple games in the playoffs, though. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, you're talking against Buffalo, the Chiefs had 210 yards of total offense. That's not going to cut it. The average in this league is well over 300 yards. You can't have 210 yards of offense in today's NFL and think you're going to win a Super Bowl.
That being said, you talked about how good this coaching staff has been and how unbelievable this turnaround has been. The Chiefs have only been 9-0 one other time in its history. That was 10 years ago in 2003. How can you compare that team with this team? Because this is a polar opposite. 2003, of course, was Trent Green and Priest Holmes, Dante Hall, the wonderful offense and the defense that couldn't stop anyone, and now we have sort of a role reversal here. Which team is better?
I'm going to have to go with 2003. I mean, you think about what the Buffalo Bills were able to do against this 2013 Chiefs defense and getting that 400 yards. You got to just think that Priest Holmes, Tony Richardson, Tony Gonzalez, the best offensive line, they are going to score, and they're going to score a lot. Alex Smith's not going to be able to keep up. Yes, that defense was pitiful, but we did get a lot of lucky tipped interceptions returned for touchdowns that year. Jerome Woods went to the Pro Bowl on that. And
this team currently has that. I mean, I think that when you look at a guy like Marcus Cooper, who is turning into my favorite Chief quickly. I mean, here's a guy
Mine too.
Who, to me, if you watch film on him, he's not just a big playmaker, because he is that. He's not, but if you watch him on every down, he is he is an above average, almost say great cover corner in this league. They can put Brandon Flowers in the nickel and let Marcus Cooper on an island, and he's a rookie, and he's a 7th-round pick, and he was cut by his former team. This should not be happening.
No, not at all. This never happens to us. We never get this kind. You always hear about it with other teams. Oh, they found this guy out of nowhere, and he's a Hall of Famer now. Marcus Cooper's playing outstanding football, able to leave him on an island, like you mentioned. He's just always making plays out there, even if he's a little bit out of range of the wide receiver. He'll turn around and knock the ball out, like you saw against the Houston Texans. DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone, he knocked the ball out even though his head was not turned around to the quarterback, and he's just making plays. He is really becoming a star on this defense.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're going to have all that Broncos analysis for you next week. Chiefs and Broncos, prime time on NBC Sunday Night Football. Thanks so much for joining us here. Hope you have a wonderful weekend of sports. Clint Switzer and Noah Groniger saying see ya. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and always leave a comment. Have a wonderful afternoon.